Although weather-related events, such as hurricanes, tornadoes, and flooding, are beyond our control, consumers can take steps to help make the insurance claims process run smoothly. One thing you can do before bad weather hits is to make an inventory of your personal property and keep that inventory someplace other than your home. That list will help if you have to make a claim later. The National Association of Insurance Commissioners has developed an app called My Home Scrapbook that is great for this purpose. You can find a link to it on our website. Here are some helpful tips that can help you with filing a claim. Contact your insurance company or agent immediately to report any damage. As soon as it is safe to do so, prepare a detailed inventory of all damaged or destroyed property for the insurance adjuster and for yourself. Take photographs or a video of the damaged property to help document your claim and assist in the insurance company's investigation. Keep all receipts for emergency repairs and for any temporary living expenses if your home is not habitable. Make only those repairs necessary to prevent any further damage to your home or business. Do not have permanent repairs made without consulting your insurance company. Learn more by visiting our website, insurance.maryland.gov, or by calling us at 1-800-492-6116.
If your car is damaged by a storm, the damage will be covered if you have comprehensive coverage, sometimes called comp or other than collision coverage. Comprehensive coverage usually covers damage from events other than a collision, such as a flood or from fallen trees. Comprehensive coverage is usually subject to a deductible that is shown on your policy's declaration page. If your vehicle has flood damage, it is important to file your claim as soon as you can. It is a good idea to take photographs or video of the damage and to take all of the necessary steps to prevent mold or mildew from developing in your vehicle. For example, you can properly dry out your vehicle to prevent mold and mildew. Your insurer may choose to pay for a cleaning before looking to see if there is any flood damage that needs to be repaired. If the car floated away, contact the police department to see if your car has been recovered. If a tree or limbs have fallen on your car, this damage would also likely be covered under your comprehensive coverage, subject to any applicable deductible. If the tree is on the property of another, such as a neighbor or on public land, the owner of the tree will generally not be responsible for the damage unless the tree was a known hazard prior to the accident and the owner failed to take action. If your car is damaged in a storm, the insurer will look at how much your car is worth versus how much the repairs will cost. Under Maryland law, a vehicle may be determined a total loss when the cost of repairs plus the cost of any anticipated rental reimbursement expense reaches 75% of the pre-loss value of your vehicle. It is important to know that your insurer may consider the cost of actual repairs as well as the potential repair cost of hidden damage and the cost of a rental vehicle in deciding if a vehicle is a total loss. If you are unsure whether or not you have purchased comprehensive coverage, you can look at your policy declarations or ask your insurance producer or insurer for details about what your policy covers. For further information, please visit our website at www.insurance.maryland.gov.
So now what we're going to do is we're going to get started with the presentations. But as I indicated, at any point, if you would like to go to a breakout room to receive an answer one-on-one to your individual questions, please just put your name in the chat and we will immediately put you in a breakout room. What we're going to do today is we're going to have two presentations. One is one that I will give, which is an overview of the insurance claims process. And I'll walk you through some tips and whatnot on what you can do when it comes to your insurance claim. Once I finish, we're very fortunate to have Bill Bradford from the NFIP, and he is going to give you specific information about as an overview of the flood insurance claims process and how you can get assistance with that from your insurance agent. Once that's done, we will accept any general questions, and we'll be joined with helping with those general questions by a couple of other state agencies. Once we've finished with all of the general questions, if you've not asked to go to a breakout room yet, you will have the opportunity to go to a breakout room at that point in time. And there's going to be, this recording will be posted on our website along with all of the slides later on this week. So in case you missed something that we covered, or in case you have someone that you think would be interested in this particular presentation that happened to miss it, they can either attend this afternoon from 5 to 7, or they can just watch it at a later time on our website when it's posted. Joyce, can you pull up the slides, please? So we're going to go ahead and get started. And as I said, my name is Joy Hatchett, and I'm the Associate Commissioner for the Consumer Education and Advocacy Unit here at the Maryland Insurance Administration. And the Maryland Insurance Administration is a state agency that helps consumers with their specific insurance issues, all types of issues. Now, today, we're going to be focused on people that receive damage as a result of the January storm, but we also help with all types of issues. So you can go to our website to get that information. Now, this particular presentation is not meant to be legal advice. Who you should speak to if you're looking for specific advice is your trusted insurance advisor, your insurance agent, or another insurance professional. Now, the way to get started is to think about who are all these different people that you're going to be working with as a result of the damage that you received. So when it comes to the insurance company has what's called insurance company adjusters. And those are adjusters that work specifically for the insurance company. They are paid for by the insurance company, and they work on behalf of the insurance company. Then there's another type of adjuster called a public adjuster. And a public adjuster is someone that the consumer or the business pays for. That person is representing specifically the consumer. So the insurance company will have discussions with that public adjuster, but always remember that the public adjuster is paid for by you. And so you are the one that has to make the decisions when it comes to dealing with your public adjuster. Now, there are also contractors, and there are many different contractors that will come to you. They're contractors that only are there to board up the building, and a lot of those don't have to be licensed to do that type of work. They're contractors that actually will deal with the rebuilding of your home. Now, those contractors, you're best to get someone that actually is licensed in Maryland to make sure that the work that they perform is up to Maryland standards. So on this slide, you see a link to a particular in Maryland Insurance Advisory. Once we post the slides, I would say go to that link so that you can learn more about all of these different people that will be talking to you during the insurance process. Next slide, please. So, as I mentioned, one of the main people that you're going to be talking to is your insurance agent. And you should call your insurance agent or your insurance company to report your claim as soon as possible. And the reason that this is important is you want to make sure that they associate your claim with the particular weather event. We've seen quite recently that we've had a number of different weather events. So if your damage was as a result of the January storm, you don't want to wait until late January or February and then there be an issue as to when actually that damage occurred. The other thing is make sure that you keep a record of everyone that you talk to about your damage. What we frequently advise consumers is get a little notebook, keep it beside your phone or near your cell phone. And every time you talk with someone, write down the name of the person, the phone number, and a brief overview of what you talked about. That way, weeks later, you're not trying to remember who you talked to and when. And when you're ready to talk to the insurance company, take a look at this third link because that's going to tell you some of the questions that the insurance company is going to ask you about the damage that you sustained. And remember, this isn't just about damage to your home or your apartment. It could be damage to your vehicle. It could be damage to your business. All of those insurance representatives are going to want to talk to you. So these tips that I'm providing you today apply to all of those different circumstances. Next slide, please. So I've said a lot about talking to your insurance company and the adjuster. Well, in order to do that, you've got to make sure that they've got an accurate phone number to get in touch with you. And we generally advise people give the adjuster a couple of phone numbers. The one that you have most frequently with you, but then a backup phone number of a friend or family member so that they can also get in touch with you. If this is a case where there's damage to your home, make sure that your address for your home is visible from the street. That way you don't have to worry about an adjuster coming to the wrong address or missing you when in fact you're at home, but they can't see the street address. And speaking of missing you, make sure that if at all possible, you're at home when the adjuster comes to review the damage. And the reason that's important is that you have the opportunity to point out all the different areas that the adjuster might miss. So let's say there's damage to your roof, but there's also damage to places on the back of your home. And you may be thinking, well, it's outside, so I don't need to be at home. Well, the adjuster may just come and see the damage to your roof and never see the damage to your fence or anything else. So if at all possible, be there. But then the other thing that you should be doing is taking pictures of everything. As soon as that damage occurs, not everybody, but most people now have a cell phone. Take lots and lots of pictures from all different angles with your cell phone so the adjuster can see all the different places that you have damage. Next slide, please. Now, if at all possible, and sometimes it's not just because of a lack of contractors in the area, but if at all possible, make sure that you get bids from multiple contractors so that you can actually compare those bids to what the insurance company's adjusters is telling you your claim is worth. And then also, as you're doing, and this is one of the things that I want to stress to everyone, you, under the terms of your insurance contract, have a responsibility to prevent your home from having additional damage. So let's say in this storm, the front window blew out, and so now you're missing the window. You have a responsibility to cover that window to prevent additional damage. So you should either get a tarp or some boards or something so that rain won't come in. But you should not make permanent repairs until the insurance company comes out and reviews the damage. But it's also important that if you go and get either a tarp or some boards or pay someone to board up that window, you keep the receipts. The receipts are necessary to prove that you've paid your deductible. And then once you've reached your deductible, the receipts will also allow you to get any money back over your deductible. If you get into a situation where you just can't afford the cost to prevent additional damage, talk to your insurance company. Many insurance companies will give you an advance payment to help with some of those expenses. Next slide, please. Now, if you're in a home where you can't live there because there is significant damage, let's say a tree falls into your home, and at this point you can't live there until the tree's removed and some of the repairs are made, ask your insurance company about additional living expenses, because frequently the insurance company will pay for a place for you to stay and also give you some additional funds. But remember, that's not the basic payments that you would normally spend. It's over and above what you would spend for your day-to-day expenses. But take a look at this link that we have on the slides and also talk to your insurance company. Now, one of the things that we also find sometimes after an event like this is there's something called price gouging. And what may happen is people attempt to take advantage of the situation. They will charge well over and above what building materials and necessities of life cost. If you find that is the situation, you can go to the Office of the Attorney General or the Maryland Department of Labor and report that. Next slide, please. So we had, as a part of this event on January 9th, a lot of it was flooding. And as I said, Bill is going to talk to you about the flood insurance claim. But it's important that you understand what a flood is. And I'm not going to read the definition of a flood, but it's here, right here on this slide. But flooding is not covered under homeowners insurance. You have to have a separate flood insurance policy, but not all water damage is flooding. Next slide. And this is a little bit more information about water damage and knowing the difference between flooding, which is not covered by your homeowner's policy, and sometimes when water enters your home another way. Next slide. And this gives you more information on that. Next slide. So, what are some of the examples? If you have a sump pump and water overflows from the sump pump for one of many reasons, either the sump pump just can't keep up with the amount of water, you have an electrical outage, or for some other reason, perhaps your homeowner's insurance will cover that damage. It depends on the terms of your policy and whether or not you have purchased something called water sewer backup coverage. So you need to know that. Now, how do you find that out? You can look at your declarations page. That's the document that your insurance company sends you every year that tells you your different coverages. Or you can call your trusted insurance agent and ask them. And you ask them two things. Do I have this particular coverage? And how much coverage do I have? And then you can figure out whether the water that entered your home fits within the terms of your policy. The other possibility is that sometimes sewage or water will enter your home through a pipe that or a drain that would normally take water or sewage away from your home. So you need to look at that and just realize that sometimes water damage is covered, but flooding is never covered. Next slide. So some people, as a result of this particular event, had damage to their automobile. And they could have had damage because of the flood waters. They could have had damage because a tree fell on their car, or they could have been involved in an auto accident as a result of the weather. So this slide really talks to you and explains to you about the automobile claim process. And just like the other process, your insurance company is going to want to have the opportunity to inspect the vehicle, either in person with pictures, or they will send you or get you to take your car to a body shop so that a determination can be made on the damage to the vehicle. Next slide. Now, for some vehicles, the insurance company may determine that the cost to repair the vehicle is 75% or more than the fair market value of your vehicle. And if that determination is made, then that vehicle by law is required to be deemed a total loss. And if you have questions about your vehicle being a total loss, go visit our website. There's lots of information there to help explain that process. Next slide. And this tells you about the settlement offer and the fact that you do have the right, once again, whether it's your automobile, your home, or your business, to negotiate that settlement offer. Next slide. And this is just some additional information about your vehicle and settlement offers. And if you determine that your vehicle has been determined to be a total loss, issues concerning salvage, which I will not get into here. Next slide. More information about the settlement offer. Next slide. Now, these are some additional tips that I would say that you should look at as you go through the claims process. Tips on the process itself, how to get through the process, what questions you should be asking, and also what you should be doing when you're repairing your home. Next slide. And then this is the link to our website and all types of information that we have regarding disaster preparedness. Next slide. And just a few additional resources. And I think that's the last slide. And this slide is just our contact information. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Bill.
Thank you, Joy. I'll wait for the presentation to pop up, but I do want to say before I start, it's a couple brief slides, general overview of NFIP flood insurance, but between the videos, Joy's slides, and Joy's experience, it's a wealth of information. So I'll be repeating a lot of that. So many, good points were brought up. So I'll just reiterate a few of those as we go, and then we'll make sure we'll get move you on to your breakout sessions. But yes, here are a couple post-event insurance resources for the NFIP. I do want to start off by saying that if you did experience a flood loss recently, I sympathize with you. I know these can be very trying times, so we want to do our best to help you navigate the process and make it as painless as possible. Next slide, please. I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Bill Bradfield. I'm a flood insurance specialist with FEMA Region 3, so I'll get the formalities out of the way. But in terms of the general overview, as Joy mentioned, I want to reiterate, the first thing you want to do is contact your agent immediately, or your producer. Get into the queue. Depending on how significant the event is, there could be, hundreds, if not thousands of people calling, not necessarily in this case, maybe, but, it could take some time to get in there. So you want to make sure you get in there, talk to them, get scheduled for the adjuster to come out. And it also gives you a chance to review your policy coverage. Make sure you know what's covered, what's not covered, especially when it comes to flood insurance, because it is pretty specific and it'll all be covered in your policy. So make sure you're getting out to your agent. If you do need help, obviously the resources Joy just provided have fantastic, points of contact. You can also call the NFIP at the number right there. That's also the number for something I'll cover later called our flood mapping and insurance exchange, the FMIX, but they can also point you in the direction. Then you want to make sure you document your loss. As soon as possible, take photos, take videos, start writing things down, keep a narrative. Joy mentioned like a notebook, folder, binder, everything associated with the flood. You want to start collecting receipts. Some of your larger equipment, if you have serial numbers, model numbers, write those things down. And as soon as you've done an inventory, remember, you can't take too many photos or videos. A picture says 1,000 words. Maybe if you have high water marks, measure those, take photos of you measuring them, all for the adjuster. But as soon as that is done, start getting rid of that material. Make sure you're, ripping out the carpet, pulling, getting furniture, anything that is holding that water out, because now we're trying to prevent the spread of mold. That's a big issue. Working with the contractors, pulling up drywall, pulling up floorboards, those kind of things. So document, but then make sure you get it out, because we want to make sure that we're not getting that mold in there. Eventually, hopefully it won't take too long, you'll get your adjuster. Lots of good points were made. Try to meet with them in person. It is great if you can, because as was pointed out, you can take them inside. You can show them maybe some water lines. You can show them the extent of the damage that they wouldn't be able to see if they just came from the outside. A lot of times, by the time we get out there, if there are water lines, they've either been washed off or rained off, and it's hard to see. So that's really where the pictures help as well. And then finally, just an important thing to reiterate is, submitting information and meeting deadlines. It can be a very tedious process, overwhelming at times. There's a lot of things coming at you from left and right. But when the insurance adjusters, When they're asking for information, make sure you're getting it to that. Make sure you're getting on the deadlines. The last thing we would, hate to have is, if you have insurance and you're doing everything right, but because it was late, you get, you don't get as much as, you deserve by not meeting the deadlines and not having that comprehensive list of information. So I know it's overwhelming, but it is important. And why we also suggest, creating a folder and a document to have all that, and you can kind of hand it and walk through them, walk through that with the adjuster when you do it. All right, next slide. I thought one of the easiest things to do here was, floodsmart.gov is our general NFIP website, but once you're in there, you can go to dozens of places for great information. So I just did a screenshot here. This is before and after the flood. It's the fourth tab over on the top that's highlighted in blue. But if you do have a question, I did point an arrow. How do you start your flood claim? It'll take you to this page. And then once you're working through that, any of those titles at the bottom with the plus sign, you can expand. So you click on it, it expands on their start the claim. It'll give you tips and pointers, much like Joy Slides did, best practices, other resources. And all of these have that similar expandable capability for all these good points. So I want to point out that, it's just yet another resource that you can look at, maybe just trying to take out some of the complexity of filing the claim and understanding the claim payments there at the bottom. So, make sure you bookmark this if you're going to be filing a claim. All right, next slide, please. As I alluded to before, FEMA's Flood Mapping and Insurance Exchange, or what we call the FMIX, because we love acronyms. These are our specialists. It's for lack of a better term, it's almost a call center, but it's a call center with our specialists that can help with all questions about mapping and insurance. You can call them anytime. It doesn't have to be during a flood. If you do have a question about insurance or mapping, they can connect you with technical experts, but they are experts themselves in a lot of ways. But this is a really great resource I want to point out. The contact information is there. You can phone them, talk to them live, or you can email them. They also do have a live chat. Their typical business hours are 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, but they do also have a 24/7 service available. But, if you do have some questions, maybe if you're getting conflicting information from, when you talk with your agent or producer and the adjuster, trying to navigate that, reach out to the FMIX. It's another resource to have. All right, next slide, please. I wanted to take this as an opportunity also to point out that we do have an Office of the Flood Insurance Advocate. It's a separate branch within our flood insurance directorate. And they really exist to kind of help fix a lot of the things that go on in the NFIP throughout the whole process. This is not your first stop. Obviously, you're going to be working through your insurance company, the agents, the adjusters. That's where we want you to go. But I did a screenshot from their page. That's what's in the blue box right there. If you have unresolved concerns, unanswered questions, a lot of times if there's a dispute over a claim, or if there's a resolution issue, or we've seen even outside of claims, if there's an issue between the lender and payment of the premium and a lapse, through no fault of the policyholder, that's when we want folks to reach out to the flood insurance advocate. They have specialists there. They can do the deep dive. They can connect a lot of dots. And I think they're a fantastic resource. So I want to make sure that everyone is aware that as they go through the process, at any time, if you feel there's unfair treatment or anything like that, please reach out to the advocate, and use their expertise to help out. Next slide. I finally want to end with something that's a little bit more specific. I don't want to go too in the weeds, but if you do have a national flood insurance program, NFIP policy, you are eligible for what they call increased cost of compliance coverage, ICC. This does provide $30,000 to help cover the cost of mitigation measures as you're doing your recovery. The caveat here, and I just want to mention that, is that your home has to be declared, or business has to be declared, substantially damaged by the community. So the community should be coming out afterwards, doing these assessments. But if they determine that your structure has been damaged more than 50% of the fair market value of the property, they will give you a substantially damaged letter, declaring the property that, or if it's a repetitive loss, which is another type of property. I only mention this is because sometimes properties are declared substantially damaged and they don't realize that they do have this access, one-time access to up to $30,000. I realize $30,000 in 2023 doesn't go as far as maybe we would like, but it's there. It's money that you can access to help with the mitigation should you meet this criteria. So I just wanted to make sure that I pointed that out because sometimes that gets lost in everything. So, if you have questions, talk with your agent, or call the FMIX, call FEMA if you do have questions about ICC. So I think with that, I am done. I think that wraps up these slides. And I'll turn it back over to Joy, but thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate all the effort that Joy and her team have put together to assist.
Thanks so much, Bill. And so now we're going to open it up to general questions. But as I indicated in the beginning, if you'd like to go to a breakout room, just indicate that in the chat. And joining Bill and I today, we have representatives from the Department of Human Services, the Department of Disabilities, and the Department of Emergency Management. And if you ask us a question that we can't answer, what we will do is to reach out to others within our state agencies and get back to you with answers. So if you have any general questions, please put those in the chat, or if you'd like to go to a breakout room, please indicate that in the chat. Now, there are a couple of you that are on the phone, so you're not going to have the ability to put something in the chat. So you can just unmute yourself. And why don't we don't have a large group of people. So if anyone has a question, you want to just unmute yourself and ask your question, that's fine. Or if you want to unmute yourself and ask to go to a breakout room, that's fine as well.
Okay, if the MIA personnel could go back to their breakout rooms, I have people to send.
I think you need to send us to them.
No, you can take yourself.
Ma'am, I have a question if you're able to hear me. I'm on the phone.
Yes, go ahead. Is this a general question?
Yeah, it's just a general question. My name's Daniel Vincent. I'm in the Coast Guard. And I just have a question about, are you affected if you make a claim? Is your premium going to go up? Because I've heard a couple of my guys here in the Coast Guard, they're a little bit apprehensive about making a claim because they're fearful that their premium is going to skyrocket. Do you have any insight on that?
So that is not a yes or no answer. It depends on many factors. So first of all, it's going to depend on what particular insurance company the individual has. Different insurance companies have something called underwriting guidelines. And based on the underwriting guidelines, some of them accept 1 claim, 2 claims, 3 claims before your premiums go up. Then also, it depends on how long the particular person has been with the particular insurance company. You probably have seen the commercials on television where they talk about we've got an accident forgiveness program, or you get a claims-free discount. So different companies have different rules on accident forgiveness and claims-free discounts. And making it even more complicated, especially when it comes to your automobile, it depends on whether you are at fault or whether somebody else is at fault. So it really isn't a cookie cutter answer. What we generally tell people is it really depends. And what the person should be looking at, because you're right, you don't want to file a claim for something that's extremely like a $200 claim when you've got a $500 deductible. But maybe you do want to file a claim that's a $5,000 claim and your deductible is only $500. So the short answer to your question is it depends. I would tell people a couple of things. How long have you been with the insurance company? Generally speaking, if you've been with the insurance company for a long period of time, you probably have an accident forgiveness or something similar to that. But if you're not sure, talk to your insurance agent. I know that was a long-winded answer to a very short and what seemed to be a straightforward question. I apologize for that.
No, thank you very much, ma'am. That answered a few questions, so that was insightful. I appreciate that.
Not a problem. Does anyone else have any additional questions, or would anyone like to go to a breakout room? I think what we'll do is, Joyce, if you could play the 2 short videos again, that way that'll give people a couple of minutes to think about whether they have any additional questions or if they want to go to a breakout room.
Do you want me to stop recording as well?
Yes, please.